I would call you kind of famous drummers.
Maybe in certain circles.
Give a synopsis of what Welcome to Sunday is.
Well, first of all, there's an S at the end of it.
Welcome to Sundays.
We are putting our last 20 years of doing this just kind of out there.
Our Ableton template, for instance, was built with the worship drummer's responsibility in mind. So there's edits on the fly. There's, let's go back to the chorus. Really easy, user-friendly, whether you're a beginner or an expert.
I remember when you were a terrible drummer.
Thank you.
How old were you? 16 when you started drumming?
13 with you.
But you're obviously doing something because you feel like it's really needed.
I think so.
How is it going to change the future of drumming?
Well, I don't know the future of drumming. I feel like this could be an inspiring place and a community of worship drummers to...
Hey everybody, this is Rita Springer. Welcome once again to the Rita Springer podcast and another incredible episode of Worship is My Weapon. Special little podcast for you today. I got the boys in town.
We're here. We are here.
Joe Volk is usually in the closet running my podcast. And David Whitworth is usually on the road. I wanted you guys to come on because, well, you've just started this kind of, would you call it a company?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like an LLC?
That's undisclosed. Yes, it's an LLC.
Okay. I don't know what else it could be outside of a nonprofit, but you started a company 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
1 month ago.
1 month ago, but it's been something you've been thinking about for a while.
Yeah.
Worked on it for like 3 years.
Yeah.
You guys are, I would call you kind of famous drummers.
Maybe in certain circles,
Yeah.
people might know who our names are.
Yeah. I
Very
mean,
small circles.
before we go into Welcome to Sunday, that's your company's name. And you are, well, just give a synopsis of what Welcome to Sunday is. I don't want to ruin it because I'm not a drummer.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's an S at the end of it.
Welcome to Sundays.
It's not just one Sunday, Rita.
All right.
Yeah.
David,
Sunday.
take it away.
Yes. Welcome to Sundays is a company that me and Joe created, and it is a resource platform for worship drummers to come and get resourced and find inspiration. And basically, we are putting our last 20 years of doing this just kind of out there and be like, hey, if y'all like this, here's some resources you can have or buy. And maybe you get inspired and maybe you take this thing way further than we've ever done.
But what sets you guys apart from other
Drummers and
other programs that kind of provide that for
sure,
like Multi-Tracks has something like that. Like what is this that you feel like you haven't found that you need to really put in for drummers to?
I think it's for me personally, I don't want to speak on Joe's behalf, but I feel like we're very aligned in our thoughts. But
Yeah.
it feels like a responsibility almost for myself to take my approach and say, hey, this is how I approach worship drumming, and here it is. I'm not saying that it's better than anyone else's, and there's going to be 100 different ways to do it. This is just how we approach it and the weight we think it carries. And and I feel like over the past 15, 20 years, we've been grilled on like, guys, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this from other companies? And it was always,
Wow.
I think at some point it became like, maybe people are wanting to hear from us. And so we're like, here it is. Here's everything.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, I think it's unique because it's just us and our approach on it. And take it or leave
And
it.
I think it's unique because you said like Multi-Tracks has certain resources that are similar, maybe like a Ableton template or something like that. Multi-Tracks, absolutely no shade. Like David said, there's 100 different ways to run Ableton, but ours is catered towards worship drumming. So our Ableton template, for instance, was built with the worship drummer's responsibility in mind. So there's edits on the fly. There's, let's go back to the chorus. That's not in a typical.
Okay.
And it's built for a drummer to be able to move around freely in it and make edits, as opposed to maybe a keyboard player who has a free hand every 4 bars.
The thought of this is like, I feel like we've done a lot of the spectrum of kind of worship world drumming.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but a lot. And so whether that's, life on the road, whether it's like managing a company, keeping your family, having healthy marriages,
Yeah.
all that plays and ties into what this company is about. And so even with like our templates and stuff, this is very much catered towards worship drummers, our approach on it. And we're excited about it. It was a big step for us to pull the trigger and just say, let's add this to our insane lives already.
Yeah.
And really care and really care about it. And so I think that was the biggest jump for me personally was like, Joe was always like, let's just put it out there. Let's start this thing.
Yeah.
Because we'd been working on this for, 3 or 4 years really intently.
Wow.
But it was always like, I know I wanted it to be like, can this just be, I want it to be great. And I want it to do well. But also I'm like, I don't have a lot of time to kind of like really put my everything into this. And so, but I think last month, right, or maybe 2 months ago before we launched, we had just set a date and said, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And we did it. And we just made a commitment to lock in and add this to our lives. And so now it's part of our everyday lives where we really are working and putting stuff out instead of just working and not putting anything out.
How do you do it with song selection? Like, are you like banking every worship song that anybody would sing on a Sunday morning and then you have to make a track for it?
No. So our template, it's not like multi-tracks where it's like, here's a mapped out song.
Yeah, because the label hands multi-tracks the stems
right
for what we're doing and recording.
Right. So
nobody's doing that for you guys.
Right. So to start with, if let's start with the template. So the Ableton template, it's a really easy, user-friendly, whether you're a beginner or an expert.
Yeah.
You can come in and understand what you're doing. It comes with a little like 20-minute tutorial video of what everything is. And essentially, like Ableton for me was very like intimidating to learn, intimidating to run. So many different ways to run it. You don't know if you're doing it right. It could glitch out, and then everything falls on you. So we wanted to build a template that was like copy and paste everything. So let's say I get your stems.
Yeah.
I plug them in. I already know the tempo. I can drag it in.
Okay.
I can drag each cue in, verse 2, 3, 4. Chorus 2, 3, 4, and everything's just copy and pasted rather than having just like a blank Ableton slate and being like, how do I put verse 2, 3, 4 in, or how do I double up the chorus? So basically, our template comes with the cue packs. It comes with different clicks. It comes with different subdivisions of clicks. It comes with IAC drivers, IAC controls.
You know what that is?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So anyway, essentially it comes in with everything that you could ever need.
But are you, with a kit, putting your sound into some of these songs? That's like an undertaking.
Right. So the Ableton template is one thing that we sell. We also have a drum mixing template, and then we have samples that we sell.
Whoa.
And SPD samples and...
It's we partnered with Luke Hendrickson from Production Online, and we created a tracking template. So again, this site and this resource platform is for the drummers, young drummers, to be inspired and to make this as easy as possible. We didn't have this growing up and going through the gamut of Morningstar and IHOP and just learning on the fly. We really didn't have social media back then to even be inspired by other people. It's like maybe
what were they using back then?
I mean, maybe you see like a YouTube clip.
Yeah.
I mean,
Royster Jr. on YouTube.
For drummers back then, it was far and in between. You had like DVDs you could buy of like a drummer at a massive studio doing a video, and that's
with 33 toms and
and a lot of mics.
But there were no stems back in Morningstar IHOP. We weren't. There was no tracks. We weren't using.
I
don't remember that.
Back in the day, we were using wedges, floor wedges. So you couldn't really
just freestyle.
You just
you just went with it.
So all of this kind of emerged when the in-ears kind of started. But even then, like, when did the tracks actually start? I can't even remember.
Like in church?
Well, I mean, I don't know when they actually started. I remember David Crowder was a big part of like incorporating loops and sounds I feel like churches adapted to that kind of world. It was probably before then. Maybe Hillsong did it earlier, but Crowder was a big inspiration for me. And his drummer would build little robots that would play next to him, and he'd like MIDI map it and run it through Ableton. And like, so they were very innovative in that sense. I was started getting into Ableton in that world maybe 2000, somewhere around there. So
why is Ableton the program to use if there are young drummers watching this? Because you can't do that in Logic or Pro Tools, right?
You can. I think for us and playback and running tracks, it's usually it's a lot easier.
It's kind of become the industry standard, I'd say.
Why not just create live. Your own Ableton?
Your own DAW.
That would be a massive.
We're not smart enough.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know how to do that.
Come on, Mike. Come on. If you're gonna do it,
figure it out.
Wow.
No, yeah. So again, the goal was to essentially make these like the mixing template. Just make it where these young drummers can plug into an interface, and they can have mastered sounding drums, like great sounding drums out of the gate, and then they can just upload their videos and do all the stuff. So this is really want this to be a platform where we're inspiring people, and hopefully they can run with it. And before we like get tired of doing this, or we're like, well, hey, we have to stop drumming and get a 9 to 5 now.
You guys need to take me back to, because drummers are, to me, being someone that is always looking to my left usually to my right for a drummer. Drummers are the thing that holds the entire thing together. If you have a bad drummer,
sure,
it's horrifying. Yeah. I remember when you were a terrible drummer.
Thank you.
How old were you? 16 when you started drumming?
13 with you.
With me.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That is wild.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that
13
crazy?
13 years old.
13 years old in a gymnasium. Mm-hmm. That those drums bouncing off of.
Oh yeah. We're at the YMCA, Concord, North Carolina.
Hey, you guys, I just want to thank Amazing Life Foundation for making what I do here on this podcast possible. They are my rally team, my biggest supporters. Without Amazing Life, this podcast would not be coming to you. They've just got this insane team of editors. I've just had the best of the best, and I want to just give them a shout out. There's a lot of beautiful things that are coming out of Amazing Life Foundation, and I want you to stay tuned for some of those things. But I just want to shout out to them and thank them for making this podcast possible and bringing this podcast to you every Wednesday, and letting me do what I love to do. But like, I've known you for a long time. Aren't you Charlotte too?
No,
you're not Charlotte.
Texas.
I want you guys to talk a little bit about just the plight of drumming. And especially like drumming in the church, carrying a dream to drum, and how you actually walk that dream out. Because you guys met at Bethel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you both come to Bethel to drum?
So
I know you came to do slop work for the Johnsons.
I did end up working on the farm. To take it back, I grew up, my dad was a pastor.
Yeah.
You went to his church.
Yep.
And so we were in Pensacola, Florida.
Yep.
And
Revival.
And I was just always obsessed with the drummer. I would ask if I could sit behind the drum cage and just like watch the drummer. And so my dream as like a little 5-year-old was like, oh man, to play on my dad's church stage, like that's the goal.
I never knew this about you. I didn't know it went back that young.
Oh yeah. So I would watch, and then a guy named Charles Sepiel actually let me play bongos on a set when I was like 7. Oh yeah. And so it was just like the greatest day of my life. I woke up, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm playing at church today. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And show up to sound check. I'm like, do I need a mic? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll get you a mic. I doubt anyone could hear me, but for me, it like changed my life because I was up there playing with the worship team, playing bongos.
Wow.
And so then, just continued like watching the drummer, a guy named Daniel P. Wonka. I don't know if you remember him.
I remember him. Yeah.
He was my hero. I was like, oh man, I want to be him. I want to play at church.
Did you ever take lessons from Daniel?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
When I was like,
because I thought maybe
Al
Al.
Sergel. Yeah. He definitely like shaped my playing. I started with him when I was like 12 or 13, but like early days, 7 or 8, learned from Daniel Piwanka. Anyway, fast forward.
Shout out Daniel P.
Oh yeah,
Wonka.
Daniel Piwanka, we love you. Started playing drums at my dad's church when I was like 11 or 12. Aaron Kreider brought me up there, and then started playing with you a little bit. And then we, started playing at Morningstar a little, traveling around with Charlotte people, and started playing at Elevation.
Yeah, but you were working with Al at that point.
Yeah. So I started taking lessons with Al Sergel when I was 13, and I think all the way till I was like 16.
The beauty of Al is that Al wasn't like I think when I think about you being trained with Al wasn't, I wouldn't call him a worship drummer, even though he traveled with Upton for years.
Yeah, he had his master's in jazz and percussion.
Yeah, and I was like, that you learning from one of the best, like, he just had a way, he knew what to do. He knew all kind of genres to play in. Yeah. So you kind of were trained underneath, not a worship leading drummer, but like a legit guy.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that really shaped you in your own style? Because you have your own style.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, Al, when I was studying under him, I experienced like the most growth as a musician and as a drummer over those 3 years.
Was he hard on you?
No.
Like whiplash.
Yeah, whiplash. I mean, he smacked me a couple times. But no, he just saw that I was putting in the work and loved, I think, seeing changes and fast. I mean, I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
I
remember the drum set.
I had 6 hours a day. Yeah. I mean, I would just go up and play. So like,
I would come over and I'd hear
he would give me something to do for the week, and I would do it 100 times.
Wow. So you took it so serious.
Oh yeah. I wanted to be a professional drummer.
Now, like
at your dad's church.
At my dad's church. Yeah.
I love
would you guys say that to drummers that start out that you have to put in the work?
Have to, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Practice is the most important thing. To grow, and you have to love it, and because unless if you don't love practicing, you don't love playing drums, when you're not on stage, like you're not gonna get any better.
Yeah. So when did you go to Bethel? You were like early 20s?
I had just turned 20.
I remember when you left.
Yeah. What was that day like for you?
It was. We were so excited for you.
Yeah.
But that's
like,
a
are
big,
you sure?
like,
Did you hear from God?
That was at that point they were like really gaining popularity.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was when was it? 2013?
Yeah.
Were you already there?
We moved within like 3 or 4 months of each other.
Okay, so stop there.
Yeah.
How did you start drumming?
Oh, baby. Well, I grew up in a little town called Bastrop, Texas.
Wow, Bastrop.
You know Bastrop?
Oh God, yeah, I've been there several times. I mean, there's nothing out there. Sorry, dude.
Buc-ee's.
Big Buc-ee's.
My parents were veterinarians, so I grew up on a goat farm, and I had classic drummer thing as a kid. I was, real young, beating on pots and pans. So parents got me a drum set and I stuck with it. And
Are you an only child?
I'm not. I have an older brother, older sister.
Okay.
And they hated that I played drums because it was so loud all the time. But I set up a drum set in the barn and I would just be out there with the goats and just playing my drums and listening to Hillsong United.
An early childhood dream to do it too.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a dream really. Like Joe said, eventually, like when I was like 7 or 8, I started noticing the drummers in church. And we were a Christian family. We'd go to church and parents were involved. And I was fascinated on the drummer as always. And I just wanted to do that. And I've just kept practicing. I didn't have great drum teachers around me at all. So I would just I did know that at a young age, maybe like, 7 or 8 or 9, when I was listening to like these Hillsong United 2 was like, was like the coolest thing for me. And I would put on these records and I would play along. And at an early age, I would find myself really enjoying this worship music. And so I think I just started falling in love with like, I could play the drums and I'm feeling something like, I don't know if it's the presence of God or what it is, but I'm feeling something. So anyways, I think that kind of just nudged me more into like really wanting to play in church. And so I would just learn songs and play and play and play. And was in a Christian band, like right in high school, a little bit out of high school.
What were you called?
Was in 2 bands. Don't look them up. I was there. One was called Lucid Days, and it's like a mix. It was like a mix of like Creed and Nickelback, like
yeah, baby,
a worse version. And then another band called Life in Rescue. Life in Rescue.
That's the best. You didn't have a band though.
No,
you never were in a band.
I was never in a band.
I mean, and I kept trying I wanted to drum. Eventually, when I got into high school, I was big into sports, but at some point I had to make a decision. It was either like give everything to like basketball or like just follow this music thing that I loved. I don't think I would have gone anywhere in basketball, but I loved it for so long. But then I just was like, I'm just going to do the music thing. So I followed it. I ended up going to UTSA, which is University of Texas at San Antonio for 2 years. I'll make this quick, but I was there and I was very aware of like all the worship stuff happening with, crowd. I just loved it. Loved it. I was involved with Campus Crusade for Christ and Crew. I think that's what it's called. I don't remember, but these little college ministries playing drums and just trying to figure out why do I have this thing in me and I can't really express it. But I had a friend who invited me to this worship conference in Kansas City. And that was a One Thing conference. And so I went. In a January, it was like 2013, something like that, 2014. Wait, no. That was 2006. I'm so sorry.
I was going to say.
That's when I went to Bethel. Yeah. But so anyways, went to IHOP, spent 7 years there.
Wow. I didn't know you were there that long.
Yeah, almost 8 years.
Drumming.
So the IHOP experience was definitely the biggest learning experience for me. I think that's where everything came from as far as like being able to understand dynamics, worship leading. I felt like a worship leader stuck in a drummer's body most of the time and just like how to lead a room from the drums. But yeah, I was there.
Did you lead for Corey a lot?
Played with Corey for, almost that whole time there.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Shout out Corey though. I'll say this, that my time there, he was a guy that instilled confidence in me that I didn't know I needed playing drums. And a lot of it was on stage affirmation. So if we would do something or I would try a fill, we were playing 6 days a week, 2-hour sets. So this was every day, like so much playing and just trying stuff and leading a room. But Corey, a lot of times he would turn around and he would just give like, like these on-stage affirmations that just gave me a lot of confidence as a young drummer and just be like, like I'm going to try a bunch of stuff now, A lot of it was bad, but he would still like, encourage me. And I think that's carried over into, where I am now is just far as having a confidence when being up there. But at the end of the time at IHOP, I met a girl in IHOP, my now wife, Allie, and I asked her if she wanted to get married and move to California and go to Bethel.
So why Bethel? At the point, like why, what did Bethel have that IHOP?
Well, I think that IHOP was 80% spontaneous, 20% corporate. Right. And so I have always leaned towards like stuff Bethel's doing because there was corporate, but there were spontaneous moments. So I'd always had known about them. And then we did a conference. IHOP did a conference and Bethel was there. And then I met Brian and Jen and all their younger musicians that they had, like Dan and Graham, and just these guys that were playing drums and bass, and those guys.
Oh yeah.
And so it was a great relationship starting there. And then as I was leaving IHOP, I got a call from Jeremy Riddle and said, "Hey, would you ever consider moving out to California?" And
had he already been there? Had he already moved up to Redding?
Jeremy had been there. So he was there, and there at IHOP, there was a thing called The Awakening going on, where like they were broadcasting these services on God TV. So apparently they had been watching it, and that's how they even knew that I was there. And so he just contacted me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to come out and be a part of our worship community?"
Because they saw something on you.
maybe, I hope so.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So he called and asked if I wanted to go out there, and I was like, let's do it. And so that's when I asked Allie to marry me and moved to California. So, and I didn't know Joe at all then. So I don't
Who
even
got there first? You?
No, David got there.
I was there. Yeah.
When did you move?
It was probably 4 months before Joe did. It was, I don't remember. The marker is You Make Me Brave, because they were like, hey, we want you to come out here, and would you be part of this record we're doing, You Make Me Brave? And so
I drove in and went straight to the Civic Center, which was the night that they recorded the album. So it was like,
Yeah.
Wow.
And little did we know then we'd be starting to
know.
No, but but it was such a tell you this, it was, as a drummer, it was such a massive learning curve for me, because I would, in IHOP I could do whatever I wanted, I was like
not
pattern wise,
yeah.
but here is like, hey, like if you're playing these songs, you need to learn kick patterns, you need to learn like arrangement, and so it was a big learning curve for me. But
and is that because Brian required more when you're playing?
Well, I think the standard there was, they started doing albums, and they, Gabriel Wilson and Dan McKenzie and those guys that were producing the records were like real intentional on parts.
Yeah.
And it was a great understanding for me to say, hey, these are why we're doing these parts, and this is how it affects the song. And here's the dynamic range you want to be in. And so instead of just like going crazy and doing all these builds, like let's be real intentional on what the song needs.
But that inspires you guys as drummers when somebody actually gives you something that you've never done before. Is that what it is? Are you guys inspired by that? And I was like, okay, I want to learn this.
For sure. I remember I had never had anyone check me, like say, hey, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. And I remember they were very kind to me when I first got there during this album process. And they were very like, hey, maybe try this. And then eventually, like 2 weeks into pre-pro, I was like, hey, like, tell me what I need to do. How do I get better at this? And they checked me. They're like, hey, you're inconsistent on your hitting, you're rushing your fills. Like, so. Wow.
Because those guys are.
Yeah, they're producers and working with a lot of musicians over the years. And so it was the first time for me that I was like really checked and was like, okay, I need to get better at drums. Like, and so I did. I took that to heart and worked my butt off. But yeah, that was.
Look at you now.
Hey, a little segue here to just remind those of you who really love what the podcast is carrying, love what I do. You know that I mentor, you know that I work with creative and artists. We are in some exciting things this year with my nonprofit, Wearing Justice, but I can't do a lot of these things unless I have help and donations. We are a charitable organization, a nonprofit, and it's Christian education based. And if you are out there and you love to donate to things that not just inspire people, but heal people while people are being inspired, would you consider donating to my nonprofit, Wearing Justice? If you just click this QR code that you're seeing on the screen, you can donate and give any amount of donation. It was greatly appreciated. I would so appreciate it because I can keep doing what I feel like God's called me to do and really keep believing in artists everywhere and how God is using the arts to heal people's heart. And I love that. I just love what I do. I want to keep this up, but I need your help to do it. So would you consider today making a donation to Wearing Justice and help keep this all up and running? You didn't come in as a drummer, did you?
No. So, I mean,
how did you get there? I don't even remember how you got there.
Yeah. So I was playing
Jeep Cherokee Red.
That's right.
No,
Patriot.
I do remember that.
Patriot.
Yeah.
Patriot. 2011 Jeep Patriot Red. Lasted my whole season there. No, so I was traveling with David Vlier at the time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Morning Star.
Yeah, I was traveling with lots of people out of Charlotte, but specifically when I got connected with Graham and Dan and William.
Yeah.
Which I knew William back he was in Charlotte for a while, so that was an easy connect. But we were doing like a small little like California trip, like five California stops. And William was leading at one of them, and I got connected with him, Dan, and Graham. And William actually was like, hey, why don't you fly out to Reading? I'll fly you out with my miles and just come and visit and like hang out. Like, I think you'd really like the people. So like I mean, when you're 19, you have absolutely nothing going on. You're like,
Nothing
yeah,
going
just say the time. I'll come out.
Homeschool kid.
Oh yeah. So I flew out when I was 19, and I mean, just loved everyone in the community. Had a great time. But my last night there, we went to they had just started these worship rooms. So it was like every night at like 6 to 12. Kind of like IHOP style, like 2-hour sets.
In the sanctuary.
No, it was in a
The great room.
yeah, the great room.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
an overflow.
Yeah,
Okay.
the overflow room. But anyway, I went there, and it was actually the first time in my life that I actually like heard the Lord's voice tell me to do
Wow.
something. Yeah, and I just knew that I had to move there. I didn't know. I didn't have any guarantees.
Was that scary to you? Or did you feel like, I think this is kind of part of my
No,
family?
it was like, it felt like the only thing I needed to do in my life was just to move out there.
And I
I'd
Joe,
never
you
felt
have
that.
this really beautiful, maybe it's because of your Jewish heritage, but you have, I'm always saying that, but you always have this, well, it'll work out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't have a job somewhere, you're like, well, I'll get there, figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't live
Totally.
like that, but
Yeah. Oh,
but
absolutely.
you've always had that kind of, so you kind of can go anywhere and be like, oh, gotta work
I've
it
just
out. Whatever.
always in my life, I've just always had like the Lord has always
Oh, the
taken care of me.
favor. It's because you're Jewish.
Yeah, but even beyond like that, yeah, maybe it is because I'm Jewish.
Yeah, it's
but
because
I've-
you're Jewish.
But no.
Whatever he touches is like ding.
Yeah, no.
Gold.
But I mean, I've been in so many pinches in my life, like financially, and,
Yeah.
and just in crazy situations in life where I'm like, how am I going to get through this? And it always
works out.
Yeah, the Lord always makes way.
I'm over sweating in a corner.
Yeah. The amount of times I've had to talk Rita off.
Oh,
I'm
God,
like,
the
girl,
amount of
it's
times you've
fine.
had to talk me off a
It's
cliff.
gonna be fine.
It's gonna be worth it, then.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be worth it all.
So you're there. So you come back. You come back from that little trip, and
Yeah.
then you go back and move.
Yeah. So I
What,
come
6
back from
months
that
later?
trip. Yeah. So I that was in February, that trip. I come back, and I think I moved in the beginning of August.
And those were the golden days, what I call the
Crazy.
golden days of Bethel.
Oh yeah.
Like
I
what
mean, it
else?
was-
That make me brave. But was that before For the Sake of the World?
it was
That
right
was
after.
Right after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Yeah, those were the golden days.
yeah, it was an incredible time to be there.
Yeah, that's what when I call Bethel the runaway train that kind of hit the side of the industry, and all of a sudden it was like, oh no, we need songs like this now.
Yeah.
But before it was like, we're never, no,
Right.
you don't.
Yeah.
That's what I love about eras. Like it's usually every 20 years something
Sure.
hits,
Yep.
and then the industry says this is the new model. And that's when kind of Bethel music became kind of the new model.
Yeah.
And the way, like you're saying, the way the production worked, the way that the drums worked, the way that you guys did live recordings with like cameras buzzing all over the place outside.
Yeah,
things like that was just,
It was a very sweet time.
really sweet time.
It's crazy to
was.
think about like all of these like really talented people that were just there
Oh,
living.
like you guys were on stage with Gretzinger, Riddle.
Yeah, it was
Cook,
wild.
Callie.
Yeah.
Like it was just all the best. William, all the best of the
And
best.
then on the production side, like these
Yeah.
top tier like innovators in sound, like Chris Greeley and
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Jonah Thompson on monitors, and just even the way they're shooting stuff film wise, like there was just a whole conglomerate of people there, and they were just living in this little town in Reading,
Yeah.
and it was wild.
And we all kind of got there like in a similar way.
Yeah.
Like, how did we all end up in Redding, California?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
We're all
how many
best
people-
friends.
Yeah. How many people live there? 100,000?
Yeah,
Reading?
in
Like-
Reading.
Yeah.
Like the church took over 11% of the population.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
and
I mean, it's not a place that you would want to go back then if you were really loved good coffee. I mean, they had an In-N-Out. That was about it.
yeah, and a
I mean-
coffee bar. Coffee bar popped.
Yeah, I feel
Turned
like
into Evergreen.
if you move to Reading and you're not part of Bethel, I don't know what you do. You could go hiking and go to the lake.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Very pretty.
But outside of that, there was nothing. So you knew
Yeah.
God was moving and doing something.
For sure.
Right.
And it was a community of people just like just going after this really
Oh,
special
yeah.
thing. They had
Oh,
a
yeah.
high level of excellence
Yeah.
and they love Jesus.
Yeah.
And just wild. And we were all in the same age group, and it just felt really
Season of
special.
life.
We didn't know this was like awesome while we were there. We was like, this is cool. Like
Yeah.
looking back on it, you really can appreciate it.
Yeah.
But while you're there, you're just in the moment and just
I mean, so
vibing.
shortly after, I mean, I think a year later was when we tracked We Will Not Be Shaken, which had 2 drums.
Yeah.
And David and I got to work together on that and really learned how to like play with each other and around each other. And then we ended up touring for the next 3 or 4 years with 2 drummers.
How does touring change you as a drummer when you're just doing stuff every weekend? Is that just make it even better because you're doing it every night and you're doing it live and different things happen every night?
Yeah, I always felt the touring side at Bethel was just the cherry on top. It was something fun and it was all very new experiences for everyone there. And so we're like, first time on a bus, first time, on a big stage in these rooms. I think we were all so giddy that we loved it. I mean, we love playing at church as well, but at the same time, it's like we get to go lead churches in different cities on this stage, and we get to bring all of our production and cool lights and drum sounds. I think for me, it was just exciting and fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And they were so, but I did like during those years, you'll have like these heartbreak moments where you're like, cause you love it. And then maybe you don't get asked to go on a tour. And then you're like, oh, I just miss out on, going to do these special little things. And so through all of it, you have to find out who you really are.
Did you guys ever in secret hate each other?
I never did.
Because if he got to go on a tour, but you didn't get to go on a tour, or vice versa.
I'll say this. Yeah. I think at the beginning, there was another drummer before both of us. His name was Graham. And I remember being asked, to come there. And in my own mind, I thought, okay, now that I'm here, like I'll get to do everything. And I didn't. I got asked maybe 1 or 2 tours in the beginning. I wasn't getting scheduled on Sundays. And so I had to deal with a lot of like just weird internal stuff. Like, why am I here? I thought they liked me. Am I not good enough? All that kind of stuff. But I through that, I think through the IHOP days though, finding like who I really am and not a drummer being my identity. Yeah. And like, if this all ended, am I still going to be okay? And yes, I'm still going to be just fine. There'll be more stuff and just stay working. And so I found it was more rewarding to champion the other guys that were doing stuff. Yeah. And I found more at peace. So anytime Joe would get to do something or be on a record and I wasn't, it was a quick check like, hey, like champion this guy. Like, this is awesome that we're all here. So good. And doing this together. And
that's not the norm. You realize that.
Yeah, it should be the norm because the only thing that comes from being bumped, it's just like you get this weird resentment in your heart and you become a worse person. I feel like,
for sure.
Just like no one wants to be around a bitter musician. I loved it when, Joe would Joe is such a great champion and he would champion me all the time. If I'm doing something, he would always be, man, that is so cool. It's so sick. And so I always felt that so refreshing and just life-giving. And so I wanted to be that to other drummers as well. Just champion them when they get opportunities and stay ready though, because you will get opportunities and don't be that weird, resentful guy.
Bethel did kind of a great job too, because when they launched kind of the Heaven Come stuff, you were both out there.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. I feel like that. I mean, in
you
truth,
were both on stage.
You couldn't, there was so much happening. Yeah. It would be terrible if like one of us did everything. Right, it was just so exhausting. Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, because there were like the big collective tours, but outside of the tours, every weekend, one of those artists were going out and doing something. Yeah. So it was, I mean, and they also, we were asked to be at church serving 2 weekends a month. So we really, some other guys would be going out too. So it was like,
that was part of the accountability for being a part of Bethel Music. That's what they required.
Yeah. If you want to, I think it's a little relaxed now, but if you wanted to really be a part of the touring team that went out, like you also needed to be serving 2 weekends a month. On Sundays. Yeah. So, but it was.
How did
fun.
that? Because you weren't married yet. You met Jessa up there. Mm-hmm. How did all of that? How do you balance all of this travel, and favor in marriage and having kids?
Well, I didn't have any kids until the very, very end of my Bethel world days. before that, I don't know if it's a balance. I think you count the cost of, is this worth it? Is it not worth it?
Yeah.
Is Allie, we were engaged for over a year. I went through a lot of we went through premarital counseling, and then we like broke it off, and then we got back together, and I wasn't sure. I didn't know what I wanted. I was like, do I want to get married now? And I love her, all that kind of internal stuff. But traveling has always been part of kind of what I did with her. So she got it.
Were you living, did she move to Reading?
She
before
moved to
you
Reading. We were
married?
not living together. Great question. She took a leap of faith too. She went up there and she had to find new friends, a place to stay. And
so you're counseling and then breaking up while you're living in Reading.
For sure.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Her parents were not super excited. They're like, what's your 5-year plan? How are you going to provide?
Wow.
It's like,
I don't know if I'm going to be with her in like a month.
No. But so I don't know. Again, like with marriage and traveling, I can't it's a sacrifice. You're sacrificing something. So for me, it was like, I had to make sure that anything that I do was really worth it and that Allie was great with it.
Yeah.
And so that was my balance with it, was just like, it does stink because I have to be away, but I feel like I'm doing something the Lord's called me to do. But even more than that, is my life at home okay? Am I serving that ministry?
Hey, I want to take some time to just again thank Amazing Kids Curriculum. I love Amazing Kids. Connie and Tyler Bates have created an incredible children's curriculum for churches. And what is so great about this is if you're planting a church and you are, perhaps you're in a church that's maybe not a big church, but it's a small church that's growing, but you really need Bible-based, Holy Spirit-filled curriculum for your littles in your church. This curriculum is stunning. You can access this by going to amazing.kids and looking through their material and how to sign up for your type of church. Again, this is incredible curriculum. It is Bible, theology-based, Holy Spirit-filled curriculum, and you will not be disappointed in what God does with this curriculum and how he uses it to bring life and the word to the kids in your church. Do you guys feel like you come to those conclusions in your drumming world more so because you were raised with really great families, or because you've seen the wreckage along the way? What actually creates I'm never going to be like that? You know what I'm saying? Because you guys have seen a lot.
Yeah, we've seen a lot. I mean, you know how amazing my family is.
How
amazing my parents are.
Yeah.
I think that definitely plays a part in it. For me, Jessa and I we went on our first date and then I left for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it had always been a part of our life. So it wasn't like we met, we were with each other every day, we got married, we were with each other every day, and then I got this opportunity to leave and then I'm just gone.
You grew in.
So it was a very normal thing for us. So it was never like as damaging as I think it would be if it was like something that wasn't a part of our life from the start. Now, once you have kids, traveling changes a lot, just because you're like, oh man, is this actually worth it? 'Cause
Right.
now I'm leaving my wife with my 2 kids for a week.
Because you're with Carrie and Cody most of the time now.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And who are you with most of the time? Brandon Lake.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot, you guys.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's funny because on the road, like I've been doing this so long. Joe's been doing it so long.
Yeah.
You go into these spaces, your phone connects to the Wi-Fi automatically. Like, oh, I've already done this. So,
God.
and you're like, things that you miss or like that is really started to mess with me is like, oh, I haven't been to a lot of baseball games with my son. So those are the things that are very heartbreaking that you really start to weigh the cost. And so I think that's why it's so important. Like if you are traveling, it has to be, for me now, it's like, it has to be like my best friends. It has to be worth it. My family has to be connected, taken care of. There's a massive checklist now for me to even leave the house. And so, because I value the time with my kids, because it's going by really quick.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, so It is a lot. Actually, we've had 8 months off. So this has been a really cool 8 months for our family. And we'll step into some traveling here soon. But
okay, so let me ask you this question too, because again, it's like as someone that's like I would be headlining for years, or the artist gets most of the attention, and they're the ones that writes the songs, and they're the ones that gets the royalties. The musicians get paid for doing what they do, and then that's basically it.
Yeah.
So are you guys creating some of this stuff too? Because how do you make a living if you're not grinding on tour constantly?
Sure.
Like where is that?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
talk about that, because I think, even, what I did with Fed by Ravens to try to do it differently so that musicians get a piece of what I'm doing, not just get paid for the moment and then never see another dime. That has to change. Don't you think that has to change in Christian music?
Yeah, let's do it. Just give all the points to the musicians.
Yeah. I almost think
I'm an advocate for it.
that there has to be some kind of a change, because the amount of work that you guys do, and then you never see another dime out of it.
yeah, I mean, like you said, that's a big reason why we had to step out and start Welcome to Sundays, and kind of, I mean, yes, it's a massive resource that we are giving, and years of experience that we poured into it. But it's also to take care of ourselves and our family, because, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I think, like David said, we're pretty aligned in our thoughts. As far as like, I don't want to be 50 years old and leaving my teenage kids for months. You know what I mean? Like I want to be around, and
unless it's Coldplay.
Absolutely. Chris, if you call me, hit me up, dude. We'll make it happen.
Gosh.
But it really is like David said, like once you've toured for long enough and gotten to do a lot of cool things, the fulfillment part out on the road, it does become a little bit more of like, all right, here we go, like four more nights, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I know for me, I didn't want to be grinding on the road. I didn't want to be a road warrior when I'm 50.
I don't want to sound ungrateful, because
that's another thing.
What we've been like given and had the opportunity to do is mind blowing, and I'll never take it for granted. The thing I think I'm learning is that you're exchanging time away from your family, and it's so that time you're getting money, but it's time away from your family. So I think us stepping into an entrepreneurial, like, hey, let's try to build something from the ground up that we might be a little niche, but it is something we love and we're passionate about. So that can hopefully, when we're tired of doing this traveling and getting like, paid dollars for time away, that we can just build something that can make money while we sleep. So this is our album. This is our songwriting thing. We're putting it all our eggs into this basket. And it is currently a side hustle, but it is something that we love, and we feel like it won't be a side hustle. Yeah, and so then the traveling stuff, where I think you should be at, is something that is so fun and so exciting. And
so you still love doing it. You still love the tours. You still love being out there.
Yes, I for me, yes, but it's evolved in what I say yes to and what I say no to.
Yeah.
And there was a breaking point where it's like, okay, I'm done traveling. This was probably 3 years ago, right when I started traveling with Brandon. I was like, I love everything I was doing and a part of, but I was like, I want to be home with my family. And then the stuff with Brandon just started gradually growing and building. But I did know I still had that check. I was like, is this going to be worth it down the road? Is it fun? Am I excited about it? Is my family happy that I'm still being able to do this? And that was yes. And so I had to check a lot of boxes, and, there'll be another check-in, I think, after these tours of like, am I happy? Is my family happy? And I don't want this touring stuff to be money motivated. And so I want it to be like more of a fulfillment thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And really work on, I have a lot of different things I'm working on, but like try to, work on the home base, even if I'm on the road, like the Welcome to Sunday stuff and a few other side goodies. But yeah, that is the goal, is to, we want to create our album and have that make money.
And the Welcome to Sundays, like, you guys, what is the prime goal for that? Or is it, yeah, sure, making money, creating, but you're obviously doing something because you feel like it's really needed for what? The future of drumming?
I think so.
How's it going to change the future of drumming?
Well, I don't know the future of drumming. That might be a big statement. I feel like this could be an inspiring place and a community of worship drummers to get inspiration and try new things and to make our ceiling be their floor. It's like, okay, make this be a launching point that we didn't have 20 years ago, that they can just find these resources and be like, oh my gosh, I'm inspired by this, or yes, let me tweak this. And I think it's like that we can leave something for the young guys to have that they can build off of.
Are you stretching the creative expression in what you're doing in this platform where you're pushing them to, I mean, I don't know anything about drumming, so I'm asking the question.
Yeah, it's good.
But are you pushing them to be like, think outside the box. Don't play just that. Play this, play this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, right now where it sits is like the launch point. And after, it's just going to expand into that. I mean, we've got plans for tutorial videos and lessons and
a lot too, like to say
walkthroughs.
Walkthroughs and how to approach worship songs, how to write worship songs, not worship parts for songs, and like how to act in a studio. How do you even think of parts in a studio, and why we should not keep doing so many builds and songs. And so trying to push the envelope in that sense of thinking outside the box.
Okay, but this is my internal question too, because can you get away with what we can't get away with? Because in Christian music, there's a cap. You know what I'm saying? There's a cap on creativity.
Sure.
And what works on radio, you almost have to just keep doing that unless something hits the side of the industry again. How do you get so creative and keep being creative without being like, whoa, we don't want that in the church. We don't want that. We don't want that kind of drumming on Sunday morning on that song, because drumming sets a pace for even the energy in a room.
Sure.
You got a drummer that not only can follow you, but is also innovative. I mean, the Holy Spirit can show up just because of the drummer. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But how do you know how to be really super creative without feeling the pushback in religious circles that would say, no, that's too far? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I've always not held back, but really paid attention to the room, pay attention to the leader, pay attention to the song, and not doing more than the song needs, because too much creativity is a distraction.
Yeah.
Or too much creativity, because you're like, well, look at this fill that I can do, but it's an awesome fill, but it sucks where you put it, and it sucks in that context. So I think for me, I've always tried to walk the line of being creative while also serving the song and serving the purpose of what it is, which is leading people to Him, and not like, oh, whoa, what was that?
Yeah. I mean, I back in the day, do you guys know who Lonnie Tubbs is?
Yeah.
Lonnie drummed for a lot of the Vineyard stuff, but Lonnie was in a band called the Violet Burning. And I'm in my 20s back then. I've never felt what I felt when I would hear him play. Like I would just start sobbing.
Yeah.
Because, I even feel the emotions of it now. There's something about when he took the sticks in his hands, like it changed the room. The way that his tone hit the drums, it changed the room.
Right.
And the same, I thought the same way with, I think it's Darren.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just watching him play in the early Mute Math Ursuit days, I felt changed, and I had no idea about drumming. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think it's what's so enamoring to me about you guys as drummers is, I mean, if you have a drummer, I remember Mute Math opened up for what is it? you guys are going to think I'm so old. Something 5.
Family Force
No,
5?
no. Come on. He's on The Voice all the time. Maroon 5 and Alanis Morissette. I was only there because of Meat Mouth and Alanis Morissette. And I could have just come to watch him play.
Yeah. He's
you know, with the
brilliant.
duct tape.
amazing.
He would always duct tape those. But how do you guys, I mean, have you already achieved what you want to achieve? Or are you looking to break like barriers as drummers? Because you can do this thing to really help. And as technology's kind of moving so fast, what you guys are doing, it's actually you're moving with technology and giving the resources to drummers, especially for church. But what are your own dreams? Like, where do you want to end up drumming wise? Do you want to just end up drumming for the church and Brandon Lake and Carrie and Cody? I mean, like, not that that's a bad thing. That's great.
I mean, honestly,
do
yes.
you have like,
I mean, for
like,
me,
you don't
yes.
have any more dreams? Like, I want to do this and I want to do this. And
well, I mean, I feel like I'm living in my dream right now. And I don't have this aspiration to, I mean, if Coldplay called, that'd be different, obviously. But I don't have an aspiration to like, I don't know, travel with some big country artist or like do something like that. I feel like my calling is in the church space.
Yeah. Okay.
And that is where I do feel like if I have a platform, I'm great with like pushing the needle and trying to change things in this space.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, like, I think it's great to be inspired by the likes of Darren King, because the guy was innovative. And
Yes.
I love that. Even BWAC from David Crowder Band was like one of the most brilliant outside of the box thinkers. And they were doing worship music. I think we're going through waves, you know, back in the 90s, 2000s, even with tones of drums.
Yeah.
Being tighter and like crisper and smaller cymbals, and now to the wave of like big snares, big crashes. And I think it's our job to not get stuck as in the church box and don't stay there. I mean, we have to be innovative, because if not, like, we'll wake up in 20 years and everything's just kind of like the same. So I think part of why we're doing this too is like to push the needle forward. And yeah, I think with that comes, we have to stay innovative and come up with new ideas and be inspired by other drummers. And that infiltrates into what we're teaching church drummers and how we even approach songs. So I think we are doing it little by little, for sure. Again, like if we show up with headphones and duct tape at, you know, Sunday morning, they might be like, okay, like this is odd. But I think it's important to try different gear and to experiment with things where you can slowly push the needle. I remember Brian Johnson we would try kind of wild stuff for these worship records. And he was all for it. He's like, this has to be a slow curve. He's like, we can't, because he understood like the music business side of everything. He's like, we want this to be highly creative, but also let's make it a slow curve and not just like where we're not connecting with people anymore. So maybe that's our take on it. I don't know. I mean, but I really do feel like I'm living in a dream as far as what I get to do and where I'm at in life. And I mean, I think when I was younger and I saw the Meat Mat guys, I wanted to be that in the church world. I'd be like, I want to be the guy that's inspiring other people to do things in the church space. So
yeah. I mean, I think for me, dreams change, right? So when I was a kid, my dream was to play at my dad's church, and then you know, I started playing at my dad's church, and then it was, oh, it'd be cool to play at another church, and then, you know, oh, look, I'm playing at another church, and then it'd be cool to like play at a conference, and then you're playing at conferences, you know what I mean? And then oh, it'd be cool to like actually play outside of my city, and then you get asked to drive to West Virginia and play at somewhere. I was like, oh man, it'd be cool to do a fly date. It'd be cool to go on a bus. It'd be cool to do this, and then, you know, you get to a point and you're like, wow, I didn't know, I didn't dream this big. And you know, it also changes when you get married and have kids. It's like, ask me this question 10 years ago, I might be like, yeah, I'd be sick to go on a pop tour and play with Harry Styles and do it. And yeah, that would be cool. But like my life right now, like, and maybe in the future it'll change when the kids are grown and out of the house. But you know, right now it's like the most important thing in my life is my family and as much time as I can spend with them. So That's not to say I'm not going to go on tours. Like there are tours on my schedule and there's traveling and all that stuff, but I do everything in my life so that I can spend as much time as I can with them.
I mean,
So-
you're running my podcast every week.
Right,
I was
yeah.
like, hey, Joe, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So
Well, I think actually
That's
that's pretty cool because coming from different scenarios where like me, growing up, I was like, I'm going to be an actress on stage. My goals were like shooting for the moon right away. I wasn't thinking about, no, we're not going to do the little stuff. We're not. So it's kind of great to actually talk about the different personalities of how you kind of get called into stuff.
Yeah.
And then God moves you into this and moves you into that.
Yeah.
So, and maybe that's my problem, Joe. Maybe I just,
here we go. It's like before every podcast. Now everyone's just getting a little glimpse into our conversations.
I shot for the moon, Joe. Oh, no, I love that. I love that concept because I think there's so many different characters and personalities.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily think that the way that I went about it is the way to be.
No, but
like,
it's
because
the
you
way
should
that,
shoot for the moon. You should have like
yeah, but
these
the way you've done it
unattainable
is so
goals.
great because it gives you peace. You're just this kind of really peaceful guy. Even when I was like, hey, Joe, what are you doing? I need somebody to run cameras for a podcast. And you'd never done it before, but you were like, I'll learn. I'll do it because I'm not doing this right now. I need to do something. And now how many podcasts are you
You've done a
running on the
bunch.
side?
Yeah.
So
Podcast
I
king.
love
Podcast
that.
king,
I mean,
baby.
I think of Justice too. Remember, he used to drum all the time. I thought this kid's going to be a drummer.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have a fork at a dinner table or straws at a dinner table. He was constantly, and somebody actually told me when he was 2 that he was playing complicated jazz rhythms without even knowing it. And then at like 5, he just stopped.
He's like, I'm good.
He just stopped. And now he makes beats, so he understands rhythm. But if he sat down at a drum set,
You wouldn't. Yeah.
it's just so interesting because I was like, this kid's gonna be like a, and it just wasn't. He was off to something else. So I do think it's.
I mean, you were a worship leader and now you're doing podcasts.
Oh yeah. And I think, but I do think that you have to carry a almost like an expression of creativity that moves and breathes
Sure.
with every season that you do.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I feel like I'm forced into certain things
Sure.
because you're trying to be innovative.
Yep.
And if I'd given up and sat still, I wouldn't have found half the things that I've done. Hey guys, I want to just take a little segue here and tell everybody and get the word out about the new community and tribe that I am in the middle of right now on ritaspringer.com. If you want more content, I've had a lot of people ask me for when are you going to do this and when are you going to do that and when are you going to do this? Well, I have created a platform on my website under the tab community where you will be then taken to tribes. And I am inviting you to be part of my tribe. On that, there is a subscription tier that you can subscribe to where you can get different content. We are doing Bible studies and daily devotionals and throwing some cooking shows in there on my favorite recipes and doing mentorships and songwriting things that we're going to be uploading this year. So if you want to be part of my tribe, part of my community, please go to ritaspringer.com, click on that community tab and join my community. You're a writer. Are you a writer, like songwriter?
No, not really.
Okay, so you never walked
mostly
into that.
jingles.
Could be, though.
We do a lot of jingles, me and Joe. Like
Give
on the
us
fly.
your best one right now. About Rita, about the podcast.
I don't have one right now.
How come
I'm
you never
thinking.
wanted to? Because he's a pretty good writer.
Yeah, I think I stuck my nose into the production land of things.
Got
so
it.
more
You
producing
didn't.
the records and.
Wow.
Joe got smart and he's like, I'm gonna songwrite.
That's right. You never did. You never did like want to produce a record, and he went into that whole world.
Yeah, and he's killing it.
I think, for all the young drummers, I'm like, what advice would you give me? Like, to stop drumming and get into songwriting if you want to. I'm just kidding.
I
But
was gonna say, well, oh my
you're
God,
like, oh my gosh.
What's the point of this?
No.
where's the money?
Wait, yeah, exactly. No,
Wow.
but yeah, so
You never had that. You never had that. I want to write songs now. Is it a secret desire of yours?
it could be.
Okay.
Maybe it could be something down the line. I have a lot of.
three of us could get together. and write
Yeah, do a little
Come on, you
songwrite.
guys.
I mean, I've been around it long enough.
Yeah.
Maybe something great will come out. I think it's like singing for real. Like I feel like I could probably stay on pitch, but I never like will like try. I'll try it like if I'm in my truck, like just really go for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was so vulnerable. Like props to every songwriter that gets in these rooms and you put out your ideas.
Yeah.
I think the rejection thing, I get so like if someone's like, oh, that sucks, then I'd be like, like I'm never doing this again.
Yeah. What about production wise? Because I'm always in rooms with producers.
I feel like
do that as far as writing and help write the.
Yeah, for sure. I think that part of it I've been highly involved in, as far as like making music while people write or something like that. But as far as like lyrically,
melodically,
putting something out, I'm just like, because I'm so jokey. I think me and Joe write these little jingle worship songs that are so silly that we see that we're like, and then we'll be like, oh my gosh, this is a song on the radio.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds almost exactly.
But I think because we've been so inundated into like worship and CCM music like our whole lives that we just write these parodies and it's just funny. But they probably could work.
Yeah, they probably could.
Anyways,
would you guys ever start a school for drummers?
Well, I think part of Sundays would be half the wing of it. What we have right now is probably 10% of what this company is.
All right.
So the other part of it is churches involved, and like we can train their drummers, and so we can do over Zoom or Skype. We can review sets on their web
live
stream, or we do workshops. So I think that is part of the goal. I think too, when we maybe travel starts slowing down, that will be another thing we want to do. And so to be like where churches can really be like, hey, like we actually have like 10 drummers. Can you like coach them and at least get them on a base level? And
so you have different branches you've already thought about.
So the company, what's right now is really only 10% of what this company is.
Wow. Okay.
So again, it'll just be slowly, it'll be an ever living thing that we grow and we keep building on. And along with our families and lives and the chaos of it all.
And how do people access this? They go to welcometosundays.com.
Yep. Our website's welcometosundays.com, Instagram.
And we have a website, Rita.
That's amazing. I know you have a website, but I didn't know if it was a .com or.
Yeah. Welcome to Sundays on Instagram. And then we're also, I don't know when this is coming out, but we will have a community side of Welcome to Sundays living under an account called Sunday Seat.
Okay. Wow. What's going to be in the community? Just conversations about.
Well, so this is you can talk about it if you want.
No, you go for it.
Sunday Seat was an account started by a guy. Basically was all the kids who would play on Sundays. They gave a picture of them sitting and serving at their church. Sunday Seat. So where they're sitting on Sunday behind the drum kit.
Yeah.
So it was just like this. And it grew. I think there's like 38,000 followers. So, and they would just post this stuff. And it was just a community of drummers seeing what everyone's doing on Sundays. And so we actually just contacted the guy because he's now in real estate, and he's like, you guys take it and you run with it. So we're going to incorporate it into we want this thing to grow. And so Welcome to Sundays will be the resource. Sunday Seat will be tied into it, but it's just the community side where we want to showcase everyone else.
So guys can get involved and show videos of them playing their sets, or maybe like a cover that they're doing, and then
it can be inspiring and really like move the needle.
Right. I mean, none of this was around years ago. This is going to be huge for young drummers that are just.
I think so. I meet a lot of young kids who get tagged in videos that are doing this. You're like, oh my gosh, like I was that kid, but I didn't have any of these resources. Like, so
just even watching Kingston. Sit next to you and play. He's not even on, right? Is he on?
Kingston, you're on, buddy.
Kingston's on in the house for sure. Yeah.
Kingston, I mean, he's just so talented and gifted already. I mean, he's playing.
A funny question.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would it reminded me of Justice being so young.
Yeah. He had We were playing in California a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And he hopped on stage and played the SPD and had a pack with my mix on it, and he could hear himself and everything going on. So he's like sitting there getting the absolute. I mean, that is the dream,
Oh man, that was the cutest thing.
It is.
But
That's so special. Like
because I think he just turned 6.
Yeah.
There was one point he was like getting my attention. I took my ear out and he like yelled, "Hey Joe, when's the blessing? When are we doing the blessing?"
it's like what?
And I was like,
Oh
"Next song."
man, that's the best.
Where's my set list?
Yeah, his brother and cousin were coming out to dance during the blessing.
Oh.
And they were side stage. So then he goes, "Okay, the blessing. We're playing the blessing in the next song. It's the next song."
Yeah.
It was like,
Oh, that's
giving away
so
all the-
great.
all the
that
details.
just must make Carrie and Cody so proud of him.
oh yeah, I mean, everyone's proud of Kingston. He's killing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's so
He
great.
will force you out of that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Now, what about the drum throne? Whatever happened to the drum throne?
Air throne.
The air throne.
Yeah. Well,
So no, let me just tell you about the air throne. How many years ago?
It's softest launch in 2019.
2019, but you
Started it
designed with a couple other friends, you designed a drum seat. You called it the air throne that actually is air conditioned because you guys sweat a lot back there.
That's right.
A lot going on.
A lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah,
back
air
there.
throne stuff's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole other venture you've got
It's a
going on.
whole other venture.
It's actually really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. TBD.
Okay.
Can't talk about it.
Okay. So, welcome to Sundays.com.
Yeah.
Your launch was good.
It was great.
Were
Yeah.
you shocked?
I was shocked-ish. Yeah. I think we only have like 3,000 followers, maybe something like that. And there was over 470,000 profile views. So there was,
you guys, that's amazing.
I felt like this is like, maybe, I don't know if we hyped it up too much with some videos, or this is like people really are like, okay, this is something that we feel is useful. So
Yeah.
Who's
Which-
making the reels? You?
yeah, it's with everything that we do, it's a collab of everything from like the merch design to the Joe's doing a lot of the video editing, reel editing, just all hands on deck. I do
such a professional at that.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Well,
I do a lot of the audio side of stuff for mixing the drums, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we really take on it
It's
is
a
a
big
lot.
undertaking.
It's too
it's
much.
a lot. It's a lot of work.
Sometimes you guys
we need to hire
oh.
some people.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, you want an internship,
Yeah. You need an internship at Welcome to Sundays. How do
Yeah.
they get a hold of you?
just DM us.
DM us. Yeah.
DM. Go to
Yeah.
Instagram. It's Welcome to Sundays
Yeah.
at
Shoot
Welcome
us
to
a DM.
Sundays.
Yeah,
We'd
need
love
to-
to
Yeah,
work
if
together.
you're a drummer, let's say if you're a drummer, a young drummer, and you're looking to DM them.
DM us. We need a
creative.
business manager. We need a
We do
content
need a lot.
What
person.
about
He-
investment? Have you
he-
guys got the investments you need?
we
Maybe
have?
there's some rich millionaire out there.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
like,
we would love it if you need a write off.
We'd be open. We would be open.
It's great.
We'll be
We're
we'll be
open
here.
for business.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I feel we would love a donation, Rita.
I think it's great. You never know who's watching.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And
For
the
sure.
beauty of what you guys are doing to me is you're raising up another generation. And I actually really love the fact that I guess maybe I hear the other side of this story quite a bit, but when you talk about, I feel called to the church. You know, most musicians, they have a deeper dream, like a bigger dream. Like the church was just the stop off point. It was the first bus stop,
Sure.
you know, because I want to play like this, or I want to play in massive this or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And you guys really feel called to cultivate something in the church that I think is quite beautiful. I mean, I'm always so excited when there's a creative element to something that wants to push the envelope a
Yeah,
bit.
for sure.
And move that needle that we are in the church to a more creative kind of platform and a more creative. I just think if we're really believing that God as creator has given us all of the sounds and the
Yeah.
instruments
Mm-hmm.
and then why aren't we asking him where to move that needle?
Sure.
You know,
For sure.
just like I said, like I was radically changed by drummers.
Yeah.
Just moved in the spirit more by a drummer than I've ever been moved by any other kind of musician. And I never forgot it in my early years.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so important. So you never know if there's a multi-gazillionaire out there
Well,
that's
if
like,
you're a
I
multi-gazillionaire.
wanna invest in something that is going to change a generation
Yeah.
with creative expression. And
Yeah. Well, you
change the
you said
church.
it in the beginning too. Like drummers you've never been more moved by them, and you've also never been more upset and pissed by them.
Oh God, man!
Because of how bad they are.
When they're bad. They're bad.
So I think that is, something that we feel called to, is like bringing those guys up and helping them actually not piss their worship leader off.
Because the drummers set the pace. If you have a bad drummer, everything's
driving
off.
the truck. Yeah.
So we're doing everything we can to give those guys a place to grow.
You know, one of my recent horror stories.
Please. Let's go around and do horror stories real quick.
Recently, I was asked to play with this church, and I just don't. I pulled the Amanda Cook. Like, I don't play with a band anymore unless you bring them with you.
Sure.
Just because that's always been the hard thing for. And I wouldn't say that I'm a great musician, but I can keep some time.
Sure.
And if you have somebody that can't really follow you, spontaneous or whatever, really it's the drummer that kind of holds you together. So I'm like, I've spent the last 30 years just having to just gut it out.
Yeah.
And I just have gotten tired of gutting it out. And it doesn't mean every church, but I just am like, I'm not going to play with your band.
Yeah.
And so they were so adamant, you have to. And I'm like, I'm not. And so I said, I'll play Sunday morning. And it was one of the worst experiences of my life. And so I just was like, hey, not going to do this on Sunday night. Doing this live, and the drummer was the pastor's brother-in-law. The worship leader was his wife. And so when I got back to the hotel, he just called and said, don't bother coming back.
Whoa.
And all these people were going to show up to the night of worship because I wouldn't play with
Oh my goodness.
the drummer.
Ouchie.
Yeah, it was just really sad. I was like, oh my gosh. But if the drummer, and the drummer was a great guy, it has nothing to do with their personalities. It's just that sometimes they can,
Bless his heart.
you get in the pocket, you're great. Or I love the young ones that are willing to find that groove,
Yeah.
But it was like, that was my recent,
That's
and
amazing.
I was like, whoa, I've never been asked not to come back because I wouldn't play with the drummer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That is so
Who was
funny.
not that great.
You're like, I brought a loop machine. I'm just going to play this.
Oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. What are your horrible stories?
And what scenario?
Because your scenario is playing with a horrible worship leader.
Oh man, we've gotten stuck in a lot of loops, haven't we?
Yeah.
A couple 18-minute loops of just this bridge over and over again. I mean, that's probably there's only
back
been
there in the cage.
there's only been a few times.
Plane.
There's only been a few times where I'm back there like I feel embarrassed to be associated. But it's happened a couple times for sure.
You can't really say the person.
No, of course not.
We could say it. No.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first started playing at Bethel, there was a Jeremy song. What was that song called?
Heaven Song.
Very minor, yeah. Heaven Song. And there were a couple worship leaders that got stuck on a loop, like that they couldn't get out of it. And we played the bridge. And the bridge is so like minor-y and weird, and the whole room was just kind of like standing there for like 15 minutes as we just played it over and over again. And then I just stopped playing.
Just swell out.
Yeah, you just gotta shh.
We're done here.
Let's move on.
Do you address that stuff afterward?
Nah.
With the
the
boys.
Yeah, with the boys. I mean, we've been talking about it for 15 years.
Yeah. We've been talking
We
about
pull
it
up
for
the clip.
15 years.
I had one. It's not a horror story, but it's a funny story. Like I dealt with this a lot in the early years at Bethel. We'd go over arrangements during sound check, and then during the set, they're just out the window. We were playing the Chris Tomlin song. Our God
is greater.
Yeah, Our God is greater. And if I got a son, the bridge.
Yeah.
And then it goes into those hits. Da-na-na. So we were planning on doing the bridge just twice. That's what we went over it during the rehearsal. We do it, and then we're building, and then we go into the musical part of the hits, and the worship leader kept singing the bridge. And so then I'm back there going, and if I got this or not, I've never felt more embarrassed. And everyone's just looking at me. And I'm like, and I'm already stuck in it. I can't do anything. So I'm just like, this is.
But that's the thing. Sometimes it looks like it's your fault.
Oh, for sure.
Do you guys hate that?
In the moment, I hated it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I just felt so embarrassed and I just wanted to go under a rock.
Yeah, there was this one time at worship school. Bethel Music does this worship school for like.
Oh, you're Christine DeMarco one was pretty good.
Absolutely threw me under the bus. She came in on the 3 instead of the 1, and there's a stop on the 4.
Oh.
Out of like it's like the biggest part of the song, like coming out of a big bridge.
Take courage.
Yeah. Big bridge build, stop on the 4 and on the 1, and she came in on the 3, and I stopped on the 4, and it was a train.
I'll say this about that set: I was in the room for it, and the set was insane. It was going so amazing. The room was all in it. And this was like the last song in the set.
Yeah, it was like the final
culmination of the room about to explode. And I've never felt the life of a room get sucked out so quick.
Gosh.
It was that kind of train wreck. And I started sweating. I'm like, oh my God, surely.
But I mean, the rest of worship school, everyone was like, "Hey, dude, like, nice stop, man. Like, that was funny." So I was just like,
and it wasn't your fault.
No. But it's okay.
Oh, gosh. You guys get blamed for everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I mean, sometimes we do make mistakes.
Yeah. And when it is your fault, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made?
I once on tour when Reckless Love was really big.
Oh, God.
In the UK, I blacked out and fell off of the drum seat.
What?
During the bridge. That's a true story. That was the biggest.
Had you not been eating?
So shout out to Sarah Hendrickson, who was making this tour. She was our tour managing this tour, and she was like, "Hey, this is an eco-friendly tour. You can have this water bottle. You can't have like plastic bottles of water." So, and I lost my water bottle like day 1, so I was extremely dehydrated, and I was jet lagged, and we're like 2 hours into this set,
and you're probably sweating and just
I'm just like dying way back in this drum thing. Anyways, it was during the build part of the bridge, and just like shut down, system shut down.
What do you remember? Like,
I remember like feeling my arms go, and I just blacked out like this, and then everyone kind of looks, and it just felt like a restart. Like, I mean, it was a full train wreck. I just had to like,
God, that's crazy.
So you blacked out, but you didn't fall off the stool.
Yeah, fell off.
You fell off the stool.
Yeah. Caught myself with the knee, just kind of like off the
Did somebody come running to help you?
No, they were just looking at me like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I think I'm dead."
And then you had to get back on the stool.
Oh yeah, get back on the stool, and then kind of just everyone kept playing, and then it just kind of went back into it. Yeah, but I mean, they're like, "Drink water." I'm like, "Well, give me a water bottle."
Oh my
It was bad. It was bad, but that was definitely the worst time.
There's this one time on tour when we were both out, we did double drums, and it was like the like an hour and a half into it when everyone comes off.
It's like the acoustic moment, yeah.
So Amanda's doing it, and every night it's I don't know like 15-20 minutes before we come back in on the last chorus of Pieces. So I hear her starting it, and I'm like, oh, I got plenty of time. I'm like dinking around talking to Bobby and grabbing water, whatever. And I look over, and David's like, Joe, come on. And he acts like he's going on. It's like, cause we're on opposite sides of the stage.
Yeah.
And I go up, and it's verse 2 of Pieces. Oof. And
I don't go up.
David doesn't go up. It's the only moment in that, or the only lighting is there's a light on Amanda and a light on the 2 drum kits. And I'm just sitting up there for like 5 minutes,
and I'm dying laughing,
not able to go. And everyone's everyone's laughing, and you can't just like walk off. You can't just walk off at that point. So I'm like, messing around with my computer, acting like I'm doing stuff. I'm like, you don't.
Just like highly embarrassing.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty good.
That was
good
bad.
goof. Good tour goof.
Great goof.
Yeah, but you guys could probably say you guys were all a family.
Oh yeah.
So
sure.
I mean,
was there a lot of grace, or have you ever been screamed and yelled at to where you're like, I don't want to be here anymore?
No. Have you?
No. Not really.
Try to think. I don't think so.
I've had plenty of like dirty looks thrown at me or that kind of stuff, but I've never been screamed at or yelled at or chastised.
No.
Hey, everybody, this is Rita Springer. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me on the podcast here with Worship is My Weapon. There's a lot of things I'm doing right now, and one of the things that we provide alongside this podcast is a newsletter that we do that we send out to those of you that are subscribed, where I just answer questions and kind of give you information, and sometimes you guys are able to write in with questions that you just are curious about. We love that. We love that interaction. I actually love to interact with those of you that want something a little bit more beyond the podcast. So if that's you, make sure to get our newsletter, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the newsletter, and stay in touch with all the things that we're doing here on the podcast in that newsletter. Seeing you guys, especially you, Joe, come from like so far to where you are now, you have to be proud of yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm proud of the stuff I've been able to do, but I think it's more just like, as cliche as it is and as Christian as it sounds, just like I feel very blessed. Like I feel honored in a way that like the Lord allowed me to do a lot of stuff that I've been able to do.
Yeah, that's so great.
Yeah.
Beautiful
it's so
family,
great
dude. You just got it all.
Well, you both kind of grew up and it seems like you too grew up in a really great. Is your family still in Texas, Bastrop?
Yeah.
They're still in Bastrop.
Still in Bastrop, yeah.
Still on a farm?
Still on a farm. It's just my dad. I lost my mom when I was 13.
Oh, wow. How did you lose your mom?
Yeah, let's go into it.
We don't have to go. I lost her. She had a brain aneurysm. And
Whoa.
So honestly, that was probably the turning point in my life where I was like, I should, life is but a vapor. It's like, if I want to, I should follow my dreams and not, do the classic Texas thing of go to school, get a job, settle down, and be a farmer.
Did she love when you drummed?
She did. This is crazy. My dad, maybe like, I think it was during IHOP, he gave me her journals.
Oof.
And she was a prayer warrior, and she would go and she had all these prayers written out for me, and she would always pray over my drums.
David.
So and in her journals, it's kind of cool that like, there was one that she was like, I pray that my son can reach the nations with his drum playing.
David.
And, like she was big into like breaking barriers and strongholds and every strike of the drum.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah, she was a praying mama. So
wow. And your dad never remarried?
He did. And it lasted a year or so.
Wow, because it wasn't her. Yeah.
But yeah, now he's
so you're kind of walking out a legacy of your mother's intercession.
I think so.
That's amazing. Yeah. Why did that come up when I first asked you about your life?
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge.
David, I've known David for 15 years, and he just told me that story like a year and a half ago.
Wow, that's a beautiful story.
And he got asked to do like a devotional during worship school, and all of us were like, dude, you have to talk about like your mom and the journals and all this stuff. He's like, no, I don't. And he did, and the fire came, dude. Absolutely.
Wow.
In my generation,
did he read out of his journals? Her journals?
No, he just
paraphrased it all.
Paraphrased it.
What was your mom's name?
Bernie.
Oh wow.
Bernie Whitworth. Through all of my whole life journey, there's a spiritual side of stuff that is wild, and it's like only God things that have happened along the way, and leaps of faith. Had no idea what I was doing, but I felt the Lord calling me here, or had one open vision, and like I had a lot of like wild stuff happen in my life where it led me to this seat right here in this podcast.
Yeah.
So, but my mom was a praying mom, and I had a lot of growing up without her. And so it was
buddy. I had
tough.
no idea.
Yeah. But I this is a testament to staying plugged into the church.
Yeah.
My brother, my sister, my dad were less involved in the church. They still went every now and then, but for me, I knew that I had to stay in the youth group and stay involved to like make it. And so I was surrounded by a lot of great people that helped us through it. And we did all the stuff.
Because that was abrupt. She
Very
just died abruptly.
Yeah, and she was the mom's mom, taking us to soccer, to school, like church, all the stuff. And she was, veterinarian as well with my dad. And basically she started having migraines. And, for me, I was like, okay, whatever. And she went to the doctor and they're like, we have to do a little surgery. It's normal. But then they went in to do the surgery and she had an aneurysm and started brain bleed, and that was it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's kind of wild to actually think about it, because I was at school when her best friend came and picked me up at school and said, like, hey, we need to go right now to the hospital. And it was tough.
That's traumatic.
Yeah, it was really traumatic.
Wow.
But a lot to be thankful for, and
I
part
just
of my
love
story.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm thank you for sharing that with me.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, now I know why I always want you guys here.
Yeah.
On Easter. And,
Yeah. I mean,
wow, that's great.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
Welcome to Sunday.
No. Thanks so much, you guys, for sharing your lives. And I'm so excited about this new adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the Lord on it. And I think drums that's my favorite instrument on stage. So
we'll get you on our little podcast and we'll get you behind the kit.
Yeah, we're gonna do
get
a little
me behind the kit. I have no talent
we're
to
gonna
drum,
do a little,
I can tell you that.
show and
We'll
where we
get you.
have our friends on, and then they have to play drums at the end, whether they play drums or
Okay,
not,
well I
to a song.
can
and
do it terrible.
We'll make it
we'll make it
good.
sound awesome. You'll go through the Sundays mixing template.
I'll
It'll
do
be
that in
awesome.
a heartbeat. Yeah, I'll do that in a heartbeat.
Make it sound
That's
awesome.
great.
No, it's been fun. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.